What's up, Tectonic Takes? It's me, Abram, here today. I'm here with LD, our friend over. How about you introduce yourself?
Yeah, no problem, man. So, and to be fair, Abram and I
Yeah.
just met, so we're winging this thing, but excited about it. So no problem with that. Yeah, so I'm LD. I'm a huge diehard RSL fan, and I actually am part of a podcast called the Royal Riot Pod, which we cover Real Salt Lake. And so, yeah, I've been a part of that podcast for. We actually just had our 1 year anniversary last Saturday, and so that's been really cool to see just how much we've grown over a year. We've had the chance to have people from the San Jose Earthquakes to help cover us when we matched up with San Jose. So we've had Ivan on before and had the chance to, mingle with him as well. And he's an awesome dude to have. So yeah, I'm just excited to be here, excited to talk about RSL and San Jose for this upcoming match, and it should be a good time. So thanks for having me.
Awesome, of course. Yeah. Yeah. They kind of gave me the keys to the castle for some reason. They just like got this by yourself first time, like letting the dog drive the car. But I mean, we're
Yeah.
gonna get through it, okay? Uh,
Hey, you know what? You have a very much like King Abram feel to you. So I think it's fair that you have the keys to the castle right now, my friend.
Thank you very much. I'm glad someone thinks so. All right, so I'll just recap our against uh, Sporting Kansas City real quick. I was looking at the highlights of both of our previous matches before this, and I'm in a much better mood after watching the SKC highlights because we played really well in that game. We scored 3 goals, first time doing so this season. We've been struggling to score, but um, yeah, we scored early on with a Cade Cowell assist, his first of the season. Very happy to see him finally putting some points up because we've been hoping and waiting for him to show what he could do, and he's finally growing into the expectation that we all expect of him. SB scored the
Hmm.
first goal, no surprise there. Then Cade Cowell again involved in the goal that came after. He played the ball over the top to Jeremy Abobasi, who won the penalty, and then got their defender sent off. That was great for us, and it really helped us set the tone for the rest of the game. Um, I was a little bit worried a little bit against SKC because they have a really good attack, but they're really struggling to score. I don't know what it is. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've watched SKC at all or have any thoughts.
Well, I mean, as an RSL fan, you got to know the history between how much we hate
Oh, sure.
SKC, right? So, so I try to actually avoid SKC games as much as possible, unless they're having a season like this season where they're just getting completely obliterated every match, right? So, no, to be fair, I actually didn't watch. I haven't been watching a lot of SKC games, but I have been following them. And their highlights, and yeah, it's been a rough season for them, man. And so I just got to give props to you guys. Thank you again for adding another dub on there onto SKC's loss record there. So appreciate that. But yeah, they've had a really struggling season. It just seems like things aren't, first off, that I think Peter Vermees has so much backing at that club that it's kind of hard to even predict that he'll be gone at all with these results just because he has so much backing, but they are just not playing good soccer whatsoever. And so I think it showed a lot, right, in your guys' match. To be fair, they went down a man, but you guys were able to take advantage of that. And even though it did go down to 10 men, that can be really hard to play against because a lot of teams will just kind of bunker in, right? And then try to keep it as low scoring as possible. And then hopefully they can hit it on a break where they can try and get a draw or get some type of a result out of the match. But you guys did really well at exposing, that SKC defense and just really, picking them apart. And I think you guys generated plenty of chances. And the 3-0 score really reflected how well you guys matched up and played against them. But again, yeah, SKC's just had a rough season. But I think it also highlights the things that San Jose's been doing well this season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just happy that we scored and got a margin of 3 for the first time this season.
Yeah.
We scored 2 against Colorado, but we were really trying to scrape that one out. We only won that game by 1 point. Colorado isn't really the strongest of our position, so I'm happy to see that we can start taking advantage of our chances and not just wait for Espinosa to do something every. Yeah. tell me a little about your disappointing result against Dallas.
Yeah, disappointing is right, my friend. That was a tough match. I'm not gonna lie. So, as you know, it's funny, right? I'm talking a lot of trash on SKC, but RSL only has 2 wins this year, right? We're 2-5. I don't know how I can come in with my chest puffed out talking about SKC when we're not having that great of a season either. Um, I'm actually on the pod, the one who's called the optimist, because I try to find the half glass full approach to how our season is going. And so I'll have a little bit of that. I'm not gonna lie in this match because, to be fair, it was probably one of our best played matches this season that we've had so far. We were, if you paid attention to results at the beginning of the year, besides our 2-1 comeback against Vancouver for our first season opener match, which was away in Vancouver, we pulled that off luckily. We had just been getting completely dropped. I think we had 2 back-to-back 4-0 losses that occurred. Our defense was looking very shaky. We weren't generating chances. They were just very, very ugly performances that were occurring. But ever since the last match against Columbus, where we lost 4-0 over in Columbus, we scraped out a 3-1 win against St. Louis. Or sorry, we scraped a 3-1 win against. Oh man, why am I blanking on them right now? Not Minnesota, Charlotte. There we go. We beat 3-1 again. We beat Charlotte 3-1, and then came into this Dallas match really hoping that we'd be able to come out with a result. And we ended up, getting scored on in the 5th minute with Jesus Ferreira. Obviously, we know how impressive that front line is with FC Dallas. But the sad part about that was that even those first few minutes, RSL kind of showed that they were trying to really penetrate the 18 of FC Dallas and provide, some goal scoring opportunities. And it's been our story this whole season, right? We just don't have the ability to score goals. It's frustrating because our whole offseason we were hoping for a number 9 signing and thought our GM would be able to bring one in, especially with new ownership that we've recently had. But we didn't bring one in. We've settled with the likes of Rubio Rubin and Anderson Julio. And it seems like Pablo has had Rubio Rubin kind of fit into this false 9 role where he's just really going to be responsible for, creating spaces for the wingers to come in and behind and to make those runs, to play deep in the midfield and to kind of, play the ball up high so that, he can either pass it back out to the wings or, maybe even play a through ball into the 18 for one of our wingers. But not really, it doesn't seem like he really has a responsibility to score goals, which is very frustrating because there's a lot of opportunities where if we had a decent number 9 in there, I feel like we'd have more goals and more things on the score sheet than we're showing right now. Our wingers are doing an okay job at putting the goals away, but not to the point where we need to be able to really be dominating these matches. And so, Ferreira ends up putting away a goal in the 5th minute. There's a handball that I feel should have been called in our favor that didn't get called. It didn't even go to VAR, and I know a lot of fans were upset about that. It seemed like a pretty clear ball to hand contact in the box that wasn't called. So we ended up going into the half 1-0, and then luckily we came out and played a completely different second half. We were really trying to find that equalizer, and we did with Savarino in the 68th minute. And it really showed like we were starting to ball out and that we were going to come away with a win. We were really just hammering them down. They were backed up, pinned into their 18, and we were coming at them. But we just, again, could not finish our chances that we had. And eventually that came to hurt us in the 88th minute when we thought we were going to at least get out with a 1-1 draw. Kamungo from their squad ended up scoring a goal in the 88th minute just before stoppage time. And from there, that was kind of all she wrote. We couldn't find the equalizer. We ended up losing 2-1. And it's kind of just, again, been the classic story of RSL season. Either we're getting completely obliterated or we have the chances there and we play really good soccer, but we just can't find the goals and we end up getting punished later for it because our defense either turns off for a second or we just, again, can't capitalize on those goal scoring opportunities. So that was kind of the story of FC Dallas. And we're hoping that we can kind of fix a few things. Again, I think we played really well. We deserved a result out of that match. I'm not going to lie. We were the better team, but we have to score goals in order to get those results. And at the moment, it's only happening very, very minimally right now from our wingers. Savarino starting to heat up, which is nice. But other than that, there's not much coming from the well of goals for RSL as of late. So that was kind of the story with what happened in Dallas.
So I saw Justin Miram, or I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but
Mm-hmm.
he got the assist on that equalizer. And he
Yeah.
dislike playing again. I don't like it when he comes on so tricky and he's very attacking minded. Uh, I thought that with him in your squad, Severino, of course, I thought that you guys would be like clicking better, but I guess that hasn't been the story this season.
Yeah, so and Justin Miram's kind of a funny topic, right? Because he was huge for us last year, especially the guy's getting older, right? He's a very veteran man in MLS, and so at any point we're kind of waiting for that drop off to occur. And last season, he just showed that he was going to be the guy. He was going to be the guy on the wing that was going to, create goal scoring threats. He did a lot to help our team be able to, get goals, whether that was scoring them or through the assists. But he's kind of a controversial topic amongst fans this season. I think a lot of fans think he did too much last season. Like he was given too many minutes for the age that he is, and that at any point he's just gonna kind of fall apart. So this season we brought in Carlos Gomez, which was our most expensive transfer signing. I think it was a $3 million transfer signing, which I know, right? That sounds like a minimal to some teams that like LAFC and NYCFC and all these other big clubs, but for RSL that was a really big deal to spend $3 million on an incoming transfer. And he's doing well. He actually got 2 assists in the game against Charlotte. And Carlos Gomez, he's showing that he has potential, but he hasn't really found the back of the net yet. And we're just kind of waiting for that breakthrough to finally occur. And I think fans are backing him and know that it's going to happen. But with that being said, that leaves Miram on the bench. And when Miram comes out, there's this mixed reaction of whether fans think he's going to do well or whether he's not. And it's funny, this game was actually a perfect representation of how the fan base feels about him, because he comes in, he immediately, throws in a really good cross, hits that dime to Savarino, and Savarino heads it into the back of the net. We're tied 1-1. And Pablo Mastroeni, our head coach, looks like a genius for putting him in, right? Well, if you look at the 88th minute goal that's scored, Justin Miram actually kind of loses track of his defensive assignment and loses Kamunga on the back post, and that's what ends up being the game settler and when they score that goal. So it's kind of like it's sixes with him sometimes. Sometimes you're going to get really good things out of him, and sometimes, he's going to lack on the defensive side. And so I think Pablo Mastroeni has to be really smart with how he plays him this season, because he's not going to be the guy that's going to play 90 minutes for us on the wing. He just, as much as I know he wants to have that in him, he just doesn't. And it's going to be up to Pablo to really know when to pick his battles to put him in, because as much as Justin Miram can create for us, I think there's some liability with him as well. So
All right, thank you very much for that insight. So my next topic is I'd like to know what your preferred lineup is going into this game against the Son of the Earthquakes.
yeah. So the funny thing is, my preferred lineup really falls different from what I think the expected lineup will be. To be honest, we have the talent there, right? I think the recent performances we've had have been a mix of Pablo Mastroeni not providing the right substitution patterns that are needed to impact a game. I think part of it is the players not executing to the ability that they're capable of. And again, I think it's because we don't have the full strength roster that we should have with a good, number 9 in the roster. We're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel with where we're at with number 9. As good as Anderson Julio has been with, really providing a lot of pressure on a back line, and the speedster that he is, he's just not a number 9 by nature. He's a winger that's been turned by a number 9 by Pablo Mastroeni. And so if it were up to me, the lineup I would love to see is Zach McMath in goal. And then we've actually had a decent addition to our lineup in Brian Vera. He's been just a fiery personality that we've been missing for a long time since Everton Luis left the team. So it's kind of nice to see someone who's willing to, step up into players' faces, kind of play that antagonist role, and try to get some players some cards, because he's really good at towing the line. He knows what to do to get that yellow card that is needed, but not to do anything dumb enough to get him kicked out of the game. So I really liked having him in the back line. And then we have Justin Glad and Marcelo Silva, who have been our stalwart center backs that I think we'll see start. And then Andrew Brody's coming off an injury. It seems like he's probable, so I'm pretty sure he'll end up starting. But if not, we also have Brian Oviedo, who's an experienced Costa Rican that can play on the outside back as well. I think Pablo Ruiz has been a huge piece for us in switching the field and being able to hit that switch that really helps release the wingers so that we can kind of penetrate towards the 18. And so I think Ruiz will definitely have that start in that 2-man pivot that we have. And then it's kind of a toss-up between Lawfulson and Ojeda. Either one of them is playing really good and one of them is playing really bad, or vice versa. So I kind of it feels like whoever's going to be playing good at the beginning of the first half will probably keep getting those minutes. And if they don't play good, Pablo's not afraid to sub him at halftime. It's what happened in the last match. And then we'll obviously have Sava and Gomez on the wings. I think that's a given no matter what formation is thrown out there. And then I would like to see Luna at the 10. And this would be like a 4-2-3-1 kind of a setup. Diego Luna has been someone that fans are just, clamoring for Pablo Mastroeni to give more minutes to, and he just hasn't, and we don't know why. He must have done something to his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or something, because for some reason he just won't get minutes, and we're trying to figure out why he won't, because he has such a dynamic style to him. He does really well for the U20s. He's a huge prospect for the U.S. men's national team.
You're,
So I'm nervous that if we don't use
you're
him,
welcome for
yeah. What was that?
you're welcome for Luna.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I know he comes out of the San Jose Academy. We actually had him on for an interview last week, and he represented San Jose a little bit there. He told us his history of kind of how he claimed through the ranks, and he claimed coming through San Jose's academy, and so yeah, we thank you greatly for him. Now we just hope that we can take advantage of having him. So hopefully he gets some minutes there. I would love that. And then I think Anderson Julio at the top is our best option for number 9. However, I think what happens is Pablo goes with a 4-4-2, same back line, same two-man pivot between Ruiz and either Lafelson and Ojeda. And then we'll probably just see Saba Gomez at the wings and then have a Anderson Julio and Rubio Rubin situation up top as the two. For Rubio Rubin, again, to play that false nine, that guy who's going to come into the deep part of midfield, get the ball and try to play it to the wingers or to Julio. So I don't feel as confident if we roll out that 4-4-2, but I'm sure it's what's going to happen. But again, they did well with it in Dallas, and I think if we can put opportunities away, it gives us a shot to maybe get out with a result at home. We know we're pretty decent at home for the most part. This season has been a little bit of a struggle, but since that 3-1 win against Charlotte at home, I think we're feeling a little bit better. But yeah, I'm interested to hear about what San Jose has to throw their way when they come to Sandy.
Yeah. Real quick before we get into that. I'm undefeated in our Discord's MLS Fantasy League, and I had picked
Oh, fight flex, fight flex.
long as I'm and I had Lindsay on Charlotte when you guys were facing them, and I thought we
Okay.
were that it was good. I was watching the game, and I was like, we got this. And then Pablo Ruiz out of nowhere, and I didn't know he had it in. I don't watch him that much, to be honest, and I didn't have
Mhm.
that Suarez Techers to do that. So I mean, that was amazing. How do you feel about that?
Oh no, yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because Pablo Ruiz has been trying that shot for about 2 years now, and he either just completely skies it to the top of the deck of the stands, or he hits the crossbar. It's one of the two. You're not going to get anything in between, right? And so I think we've all been waiting for that shot to finally go in. And if you watch his celebration after he hits that off the crossbar and it goes into the back of the net, that man looks like he just won the lottery, right? Like he literally was so happy, and it's because he's been trying that shot for seasons now, and they talk about how he hits it all the time in training, but can never do it in a match. So I think you'll see plenty more opportunities of Pablo trying to hit that shot, and I think it'll be the same thing where we either see him sky it out of the stadium or he'll hit it off the crossbar. But every now and then, maybe every other season, we'll see that finally hit and go into the back of the net. So it was nice to see that against Charlotte. But he's a good player to have, and I'm always happy to have him around the 18, taking those shots if we need to. Any way we can get to score a goal.
Yeah, I mean, he almost did it again against Dallas. Was
Right.
pretty. I like if you're gonna do that twice, like you got
Yeah, right. I'm hoping so. Maybe tell your San Jose peeps to be a little bit aware. Tell that defensive line to push up high on that 18, keep him from having that shot because he'll unleash it, man, and it'll either be good or really bad, but it'll be one or the other.
JT's keeper, and we've had a lot of ups and downs with him, and a lot of discourse about whether he's good enough. But for a while there last season, those were the only goals he was conceding, like that were he couldn't do anything about it. It was just in the top corner,
Hmm.
but people will still like to blame goalkeepers. So
Yeah. Well, he seemed like he had a pretty good save against SKC when what's his name?
Russell,
Uh, Zusi. Yeah, Zusi, right? Didn't Zusi hit that shot from like way outside the 18 and he was able to palm that away? And, that could have easily gone into the back of the net. So JT Marcinowski doesn't seem like someone that I hear about every week about making these amazing saves, but whenever I get the chance to watch him, it seems like he's doing his part. So I think he's someone that, goalkeepers tend to have a legendary day against RSL. It tends to happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if JT Marcinowski puts a little bit more value into his name after this next match because we tend to have that tradition with the opposing
I
goalkeepers.
definitely hope so. So yeah, let me go into my starting 11, if you don't mind. So
Yeah.
personally, I would start JT, even though I'm hearing reports that Daniel, that we bought from Internacional from Brazil, he might be available. He was our number one going into the season. He takes up an international slot. We paid money to get him, so it would be bad business to, have a backup keeper and take up that much weight on the kind of wage bill. But it's been a real back and forth because he's kind of strange. He has ability, but uh he does weird things. Like he in the second match he threw the ball off of the attacker's head, and that almost went into the goal. Uh,
Huh.
yeah, and JT doesn't really make those mistakes, so we're really like trying to figure out why we're still having this debate. But JT is in great form, so I don't really want to change anything there. Same logic goes to Marie on the left. Paul Marie has been someone who we saw as a backup. We didn't really think much of him, but now we're like really glad we have him because he's up and down. He wins the ball, and then he's really good at starting the attacks with his inverted dribbles, through the midfield. Um, really starting
Hmm.
to connect with Cade Cowell better, who I also think should start despite me not having that same opinion earlier this season because when he gets the ball, sometimes he's kind of really indecisive, um, and it results in a lot of turnovers where we don't want to turn over the ball. When we're trying to keep the attack going, he kind of just puts his head down and tries to dribble into the defense and really go
Hmm.
anywhere. So we're trying to like see if he can regain that form that we all saw from him in the game against Serbia. Everyone's always mentioning that when we talk about Cade, and
Yeah.
that's what we all thought he would be. Really, there was a home opener against AC Dallas, which just like he he got an assist and I think a goal or two. I don't know, but he was insane, and Quakes fans will know what I'm talking about. But moving on, I think that we will have our center back pairing of Rodriguez and Mensa, who have been solid. It's crazy to think that we have such a solid defense nowadays, because last season and seasons prior we may have been like pretty good on the attack, but really lacking in defense. So I think it'll
Hmm.
be interesting to go up against you guys who are struggling to score. I'm pretty excited to see how our defense
Yeah. I bet you are. I bet you are.
week with Daniel Sperry, who is also very frustrated with his SKC attack, who are struggling to score. So we'll take games against teams like that any day. Jacopo on the right, he's been another new signing, very, very consistent. We were worried a little bit with him because his fitness wasn't really up to par, but now that he's up and going, he's really solid, and I don't see anyone taking that spot from him. And he has a really good connection with Espinosa, who should also be starting. Uh, it would be really it would be ridiculous if we didn't start him because he's been our best player this season, and for a
Yeah.
while since we bought him. So, um, I was meaning to ask, do you have any worries about any of our players? I would assume you would be a little bit worried about Espinosa with his form, but
Yeah, absolutely, Abram. That's a long list of problems that I'm worried about when it comes to the San Jose Earthquakes this season. Listen, San Jose has always been a team that it doesn't matter if RSL is having a bad season and they're having a good season, or vice versa. If we're having a good season, they're having a bad season. Like it's just always like an interesting game between us two. And it's sometimes it's never really a blowout, right? Like it's never like a 4-0 one way or the other. It seems to be either like one team gets the goal at the very end and it's like a 2-1 or a 1-0 type game, or we end up just playing to just a relentless draw where we've pretty much taken out each other's teams the whole time. There's some red cards thrown out here and there. So I don't know. I think for me, the players that I'm most nervous about, and it's funny that you brought up Cade Cowell's struggles this season because he's been someone that I've always really appreciated in the league. I love his body framework of what he is as a soccer player. He's not your traditional like slim shifty guy, right? He's kind of like your Hulk type player, and he just runs at defenses. And what I love about him is that he really just imposes kind of himself on the defense, and it really makes them have to think about what he's going to do. But like he's not just someone who always is going to run at you. Like he can cut back and send that ball in. I think that was his first assist that he gave to Christian Espinoza, where he kind of runs down the side of the 18, he cuts back and then sends that ball in, and Espinoza is able to put that away. And so Cade Cowell's always someone that he's a really big prospect, I think, for the league and for even the U.S. men's national team, and I think he has a lot of potential there. if he can really click on all cylinders. And so he's someone that always worries me. Really good young athlete that can cause some issues. Of course, Christian Espinoza is a guy that I literally have a heart attack anytime he has the ball. That guy can literally make something out of nothing every time I see him on the ball. And so he's someone that whenever I see him collect the ball, I'm waiting for our number 6 to just honestly take him out respectably, right? I don't want him to get injured, but I also don't want him to feel like he has all the time in the world to do what he wants to on the field. And so I think he's someone that we'll need to make sure that we're consistently applying pressure on. And then how can you not be worried about Jeremy Obavise, right? Like he is someone who I actually, when he was leaving the Portland Timbers, I wanted RSL to go after him so bad because he's the perfect number 9 where he's not going to cost the bank to get him, but he's also someone that's proven in MLS. He knows how to score goals in different types of ways, right? And I was really sad when San Jose ended up getting a hold of him. And as happy as I am for you, Abram, I wish he was on our team right now because I think if we had a number 9 like him, like Jeremy, we'd be doing amazing things this season. But unfortunately, we do not. So he's someone that we'll have to keep an eye on. I think it'll be interesting to see how him and our center back pairing lines up because it'll be either Justin Glad or Marcelo Silva or maybe even Brian Vera marking him, and we'll have to see how those duels go because I know Jeremy isn't afraid to step up to the plate when he needs to and get in people's faces, and our center backs tend to do the same. So I think those are the main 3 that I would think of that come off the top of my head of if we were to have a really tough time at home against San Jose, it would be because those players are clicking and are able to really cause problems for us at our back line.
Right, and I mean it's funny you mentioned Gid Cowell and Jeremy Bobusi because those are two players that now that you mention them and hold them in such high esteem, I'm like, do we undervalue our guys? Because
Right.
Kate Cowell, he's a guy who's very divisive in our fan base. We know that what he can do. He's extremely fast. He's so strong, and he can do. He has such a high ceiling, and we all see that. But week in week out, he doesn't do what we know he could do. You know, so it's
hmm
really frustrating. But I mean, he did it. So he did it against a, which
Yeah.
was a really good time for him to pull that out. He was involved in all 3 goals, and I mean, I'm always going to be the biggest Kate Cowell fan, but yeah. And Jeremy Abobasi, I mean, after he had his concussion, a lot of us were worried if he is even going to continue playing soccer. Um, but he
hmm
did, and thankfully he did. But before he started scoring goals, and even before the last game where he scored a brace, people, again have doubts, and they're like, should we be starting Benji at striker instead of him? I've heard people say that Benji's flat out better, a better forward than Jeremy Bobasi, and I don't.
Well, if your fans want to make a deal, you guys can go ahead and start Benji, and we'll take Abobusi off your hands. Like I'm totally fine with
Right?
that.
No, no, because obviously Jeremy brings so much value to this team, not just the goals,
Right.
not just his impact on the field, with his hold up play and his leadership, but also off the field. He's an amazing person, and I'm so glad we have him. But I was curious before we go into our final predictions. I was curious what is going on with Axel Kai or Axel K, because he was a guy that I thought was going to be like a big thing. I have his auto card here. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
look at that! That's amazing.
stoked. I put this on a live stream for Tectonic Takes. But yeah, we thought that he was going to be a much bigger deal than he has been.
hmm Yeah, Axel Kai, he's an interesting player when it comes to RSL. So obviously we know he was. I don't know if he still has the record or not for the youngest player to be signed to professional soccer, at least in MLS. Not sure if that's still standing or not, but that was the last that I heard that he did hold that record. But yeah, so we all love Axel. We all are excited about his potential. I think there were a ton of fans last season when we weren't scoring goals again, which has been an RSL thing with not having a number 9 that wanted Axel to just get thrown in and see what he could do. And I think the club and the organization has been very, very cautious about how they develop him, right? I think the last thing they want to do is they really refer back to the Freddie Adu situation, right? Where Freddie Adu, was this young prospective talent that had the whole world at his hands and people held him up to a certain expectation. And the dude just flamed out, right? And it's kind of sad when you follow Freddie Adu's story to see kind of his love for the game and what he's been able to still go on and do in the professional ranks, but he's just never lived up to that hype that was given to him or that mantle that people expected him to live up to. And I think that's what the club and the organization wants to avoid with Axel Kai. I mean, this kid was signed at 14 years old, right? So like, it's understandable that they don't want, to make this kid feel like he has to go in and save this organization, right? And so we haven't seen a ton from him. He's played for the USL, or sorry, not USL anymore, MLS Next Pro, RSL Monarchs, and has been getting minutes with them. And we just haven't really seen a lot. I think he made one appearance for us last season in a friendly, I believe is what it was. I can't even tell you who it was against, and I can't even remember to tell you how he did. But I think the club is just trying to make sure that he's developing correctly. I know he's very involved with the training sessions with the first team, and he always gets those opportunities to get that experience with MLS first team play when it comes to training sessions. And I think we're just waiting to the point where if we don't have any better options, that Axel Kai can come up and get thrown in there. And there's a ton of the fan base that wants to see that. But I think there's also a ton of the fan base, me included, who understands kind of the development and the process that we are taking with our players. And a lot of fans are actually pretty critical when it comes to how we've developed players recently and haven't been able to take advantage of developing those players and getting any type of value out of them. They seem to just kind of leave our club and sign for another team and then do better things. But yeah, it's kind of, we'll see what happens with Axel Kai and see if he ends up getting any minutes soon. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like he's in Pablo Mastroeni's plans even in the near future. But that could always change. We'll end up seeing what happens as far as the results that keep happening and whether Pablo's forced to eventually play him at some point. So that's kind of his story at RSL right now.
All right, thank you very much for the information. So I was curious, what are your predictions? So Ivan likes this game. It's called fill in the blank, where he's
Uh,
so finish the sentence. Okay, RSL will win this game if blank.
RSL will win this game if Savarino, Gomez, and Anderson Julio are clicking on all cylinders. That's pretty much what it is, because our our defense has been, for the overall entirety of the game, they've done well, but they have these moments where they just have a mental lapse and then lose their assignment, or something happens where they're not providing pressure at the right time, and someone hits a nasty shot from outside the 18 on us, or someone hits it in from the back post because we weren't man marking or communication wasn't occurring right. So what's tend to gotten out of those situations is if our attacking essentially plays a part in our defense, where if they are taking the ball up, they're pressing forward, they're spending all the time in the opponent's half, that our defense doesn't really have to worry about those mental lapses if we're up there and scoring goals, because then the other team plays a little more cautious because they're worried about how fast Julio can be, how fast Gomez can be, and the dynamic play that Sava can provide when he's running at opponents. So if they're on their game, and if we can show that we have that, support from the midfield to provide those balls that are needed for those top three, and that they can combine and rotate and just really cause havoc at that back line, I think we end up winning this game. Um, do I go about how we end up losing that game as well?
Sure. I mean, I'm hearing about that. It sounds good.
Okay, I think how we lose this game is if we get scored on in the first maybe 10 to 15 minutes, because and to be fair, like, we're pretty good at home even when we're down. We tend to do good at coming back, but I just don't know if we can handle these. I mean, it's been more than not where we've gone down first, and I don't think we can continue to keep trying to dig out of these holes and dig out of these comebacks. Right? It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do on the physical aspect of the game and on the mental aspect of the game. So I think if Christian Espinoza, first off, is having all the time in the world on the ball, and if Jeremy Abobasi is making sure that he's getting plenty of goal scoring opportunities and has those chances in front of him that I'm sure he'll put away, I think it's going to be more than likely we don't end up winning this game. As well as our midfield is very easy to cut through. So if you go ahead and tell your San Jose players that if they want to go ahead and score some goals, just go right through our midfield. They'll give them the door to just go right through. So I'm interested to see how that ends up turning out. But those would be the two factors on whether we win or lose for me.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned your midfield because I was going to say Quakes will win this game if Jermaine Montero and Jackson Newell have a good game, because
Mm-hmm.
on their day there's some really they make a lot of opportunities. They're very smooth on the ball, and if you don't close them down, they can wreak a lot of havoc. And also Grezzo as well. I'm really glad he's back from injury because he really is good at picking out the that tackle. Just you don't have to like go in there and take out the player. He just kind of like comes pokes it out and wins us back possession.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that if those three are on their game, we're gonna have a really fun match. If nothing else,
Yeah. And Abram, I can't believe it took this long to mention Jackson Ewell. That guy is such a baller for you guys, and he's another player that I wish we had on MLS and on our team on RSL. He's such an awesome player that the league has, and just to see how he's been able to kind of live up to his name, he's done really well. And yeah, again, I think our midfield is going to be a huge detriment to us if they're not, communicating right and handling their assignments right. And I think Jackson Ewell can absolutely cut us up if if our midfield isn't on it. So that's definitely someone that we'll have to watch out for as well. So I'm glad you ended up bringing that up because I don't think it should have taken that long to bring up his name. He's that
yeah, I
good.
mean, I think that he doesn't get his flowers enough. He's another guy who I think that we might underappreciate. Uh, One of my first appearances on Tectonic Takes, I was saying that maybe we should look at selling him because he didn't fit in our system where it was man to man, and he was like not only was he a center back, he was a center mid, and he was a number 10, and so we weren't what he
Mm-hmm.
should be. And then now we brought in Grezzo, who's really unlocked him, and he looks like Zinedine Zidane sometimes. Like he's insane, and I'm really happy that he's finally coming into his own, like consistently. It's not just a game here and there. It's when Jackson's playing. Uh, I mean, he's one of the most fun players to watch on the pitch. So I'm very I'm happy to have him as well. So yeah. Um, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I'm excited for this game. I just think it's going to be a really, again, I think these games are always crazy. San Jose games seem to be the games where I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm either, punching in the air out of like for victory because we just pulled off an amazing result, or I'm punching into my TV because we ended up blowing the game and San Jose pulled off a incredible goal to end up winning it at the end. So it'll be interesting to see how this game turns out. I do think we do have the advantage at home, Abram. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be the half glass full guy. I think we end up winning this game. I actually have a prediction score for 4-2, and I'll make sure I use that on my podcast this week. I think what it is I think we are going to be better. We've shown that we can create these chances, and I think at home we do so well when the fan base gets behind us. The fans love singing the Believe anthem at home. And so, when we score goals, every time we get a chance to sing that Believe anthem loud and proud. And I think the boys love hearing that on the field as well. So I think we'll have the right opportunities to score a few goals, but I don't think it's going to be one where we blow you guys out and you just happen to get 2 goals in the match. I think it's going to be a close game, and then we're just going to have the right momentum going where we end up scoring a couple more than you guys. But I think this is going to be a really close game. And again, this is a very optimistic score that I've given you, so take that with a grain of salt.
I love you named the optimist. Uh, yeah, get on a bus and go support my guys and kind of battle against your guys' energy with my own energy. But yeah,
There you go.
let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter. I actually put it down. I made this username forever ago, so I have to always I forget why I did it, but it's at Golasso14. So that's Golasso, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 O's on the end of Golasso to be exact. So I'm always tweeting about RSL MLS stuff. If you want to find me on Twitter, and then if you want to go ahead and give our podcast at Royal Riot Pod a follow. We cover mainly RSL, but again, we love having San Jose coverage on our podcast as well when we come to play these games. We've had Ivan on a couple times, and we're planning on having you guys on again this week. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to be able to continue to have this awesome friendship between the podcast to be able to provide coverage for both RSL and San Jose when we play each other. And just a shout out to the Royals who are coming back. They're our NWSL team that has been coming back. There's a big announcement for their head coach that's going to be announced this week, and we've actually brought on a team of podcasters to help cover the Royals for us as well. So we'll be doing the RSL side of things, and we brought 2 female voices and another male voice to kind of help cover the Royal side of things, which we're really excited about. So if you just like NWSL as well and you're excited for a new expansion team that's coming in, go ahead and follow our podcast because we'll be covering a lot of that as well.
That's very exciting. Thank you for sharing. Um, yeah, you can find me at JSB Bomb, J underscore. I forgot how to spell. J uh, JE underscore SUIS underscore BAM. I also made my Twitter handle a long time ago, and I just haven't come
Nice.
up with a new one, so we're going. Be much.
I Sorry, I just wanted to give a shout out real quick to San Jose in general, the Earthquakes. You guys are an awesome club. I appreciate just the support you have over in San Jose. I actually tried to travel to away games every now and then, and I haven't done a ton. I've only done a few, but one of the games that I got to go to was San Jose back when it was in Avaya Stadium. Still, I know it's PayPal Park now, but I always remember it as Avaya Stadium. There you go. Yeah, love it. Yep. And it was just a really cool atmosphere. The fans were nothing but super nice to us, very welcoming. Obviously, when we got into the game, there was some banter, but it was very friendly banter, and it was just a really fun environment. So appreciate everything that you guys do over there, and I'm just really excited again for this matchup. I hope any San Jose fans that are traveling to Salt Lake to come see the game, that you guys know that you're more than welcomed, and that if you see any RSL fans, feel free to mingle with them. We're a pretty inviting group, and we'd love to have a chat with you. But during the match, we might provide a little more banter, but that should be the fun way to do things. So again, thanks again for Tectonic Takes on having me on, and it was awesome to be able to cover the RSL aspect for this game.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. It was really a pleasure to have you. All right, thanks.